right, good morning. I'm going to turn things over to Lieutenant Nyberg.
Good morning. Again, my name is Aaron Nyberg. I'm a lieutenant with Sioux Falls Police Department, and I'm the lieutenant in the Crimes Against Persons section. I'm just here to give you a couple of updates on two cases from over the weekend. The first is we had a homicide this weekend. The details on that, on December 7th at about 6:28 in the morning, we were dispatched at the 2500 block of North Aden here in Sioux Falls for what was dispatched as an assault. When the officers arrived, they found one victim who had been stabbed and was deceased. There was also a juvenile female in the house who was uninvolved and uninjured. The victim was identified in this case, first name of Alonzo, A-L-O-N-Z-O, middle is Jeremy, it's J-E-R-E-M-Y. Last name is Little, L-I-T-T-L-E. 39-year-old Sioux Falls resident. The suspect was developed in this case. He was actually discovered in the victim's car. His name is first name Juan, it's J-U-A-N, middle is Carlos, C-A-R-L-O-S, last is Flores, it's F-L-O-R-E-S. He's a 30-year-old Sioux Falls resident. Juan was ultimately arrested and lodged at the Minnehaha County Jail for alternating counts of murder in the first and murder in the second degree, manslaughter in the first degree, burglary in the first degree, and robbery in the first degree. The autopsy is happening this morning, so we'll have some more information after that. But as far as this case, we know that the victim and the suspect knew each other and were in a relationship. They ended up having a dispute between the two of them that ultimately escalated into the victim being stabbed. So, again, as far as any of the other circumstances that were involved, as far as alcohol or drugs or things like that, we'll have to wait until we have any of the chemical tests back and results from the autopsy. So, any questions about that?
So it's thought to be a case of domestic violence escalating to the worst possible outcome?
Yes.
And this happened in a house?
Correct.
Were the victim and the juvenile that were in the residence related? Can you speak on that?
Yes. All right. Then the second case, I just wanted to give an update on the mall shooting that happened on Friday night. The chief was on scene and already had given a pretty lengthy update that evening. Detectives came in and started working with patrol, and after interviews and being able to watch some surveillance video, detectives were able to identify one suspect in this case, and an arrest warrant and a search warrant were obtained. The suspect who was ultimately arrested, his first name Jaden, it's J-A-D-E-N, middle Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, Justice, J-U-S-T-I-S, last name Bingham, B-I-N-G-H-A-M. He's an 18-year-old Sioux Falls resident. The arrest warrant was served on him, and a search warrant was served at his residence in the 1600 block of North Maple Avenue and on vehicles that were there. Detectives were able to recover 3 firearms, and Jaden was lodged with Minnehaha County Jail on aggravated assault charges. This case is still ongoing. Detectives are working to try to identify everybody that was involved in the dispute that happened at the mall. So there are still people to talk to and still video to watch to make sure that we can find the other person who may have also fired a gun in this incident. And again, just to reiterate what the chief had mentioned on Friday, this doesn't appear to be an active shooter in the sense that these people didn't come to the mall targeting shoppers or random people at the mall. It appears to be two groups of people that just happened to meet with each other, maybe not even necessarily planned. They just happened to run across each other and happened to be at the mall when it's full of shoppers around Christmas time. And the ongoing dispute picked up from there and escalated to where we had firearms produced and shots fired at each other. So that case is still under investigation. I don't have many more details that I want to get into past that, as detectives are still working on trying to interview people and again watch some more surveillance video to get maybe a better look at the situation. So, any other questions on that?
So Jaden Bingham's the alleged shooter.
He's one of the individuals with a firearm. So, and he is charged with assault. As far as who fired what rounds that we were able to recover, and what shell casings belong to which firearms, that'll take some more investigating and some more processing before we're able to say that.
How many confirmed shooters then?
We believe that there were two people that had firearms.
Okay.
And we're still looking for the other person that had a firearm.
So, two different shell casings were obtained. Were they different calibers?
Well, we were able to see that two different people were carrying guns.
Were the guns stolen?
I'm not sure on that information right now. I don't have that in front of me.
Can you clarify whereabouts in the mall this took place?
I wasn't on the scene on Friday, but it's the corridor by the Buckle, I believe.
We're talking about social media posts with someone brandishing a handgun, people potentially masked. Is this thought to be gang related?
Yeah, there could be a gang component to this.
And who called 911?
There were several 911 calls, and that's, again, more of the things that we're doing is contacting. I believe there's somewhere around 40 calls that we got. So that will take detectives time to make contact with everybody and interview them as far as what they saw.
And it's unknown how many rounds were fired?
We believe more than one was fired, but again, we'll have to make sure we process everything that we found before we were able to say exactly how many.
And there were, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Go ahead.
Court papers list a defendant and a victim, and then two other people identified, one identified two. Is the public going to get photos of these unidentified individuals, or how are you trying to find them?
Well, we have some pretty good descriptions, and again, that's the going over surveillance video and interviewing people that were there. If you get a photo will depend on if they're juveniles or young adults, on if we're able to release a photo once we're able to make an identification.
Can you clarify, because there was no injuries as a result of this, correct?
Correct.
So can you clarify, were guns being shot at people, or were guns being shot in the air, or?
I guess I don't want to get too far into what someone's intent was. I don't really know if they meant to fire it to scare someone off or to shoot at someone, but I guess I can't really answer that at this time.
Would you be able to answer if the bullet holes were identified in the ceiling or the wall?
Not in the ceiling.
And these parties in this shooting, it's unclear to what degree they knew each other, if at all.
It appeared to be a dispute over people who know each other, but maybe not know each other well, but just as people who are feuding. And that would be that potential gang element there.
Are you able to confirm if the defendant here is a high school student?
I believe at one point he was a student. I don't know that he is still a student in the district.
Do you anticipate releasing video surveillance footage to the public?
Again, it depends on the ages of the people involved, and state law really dictates what we can release on that, what we can to the media. So,
Court papers say a victim reported the defendant claimed that his friend beat up the defendant. So claim that the victim's friend beat up the defendant?
that's that element there where these two have an ongoing beef from two different sides, where this person was recognized as a person that associates with the people that beat up his friends.
Okay.
With the possibility that it may be gang related, is there any worry for the public?
The only worry is that it would happen in a place where there are people like this. And this really speaks to the reason why we partner so well with our violent crime unit, because while we take on the investigations after these things happen, those guys go out and proactively document who these people are and try to make cases before we have to do these investigations as far as illegal weapons possessions and being involved in other illegal activity to further if they're trying to further their gang activity, that we have a unit that works on identifying them and making arrests before we get to this point. So.
Just circling back one more time, you said you obtained 3 firearms out of the suspect's vehicle. Were any of them
House and vehicle.
House and vehicle. Were any of them registered to him?
We don't have to register guns here. I don't have any confirmed information that they're stolen at this point. So.
Are you able to share how many were in the house and how many were in the vehicle?
As far as the guns,
Yes.
I believe 2 in the house and 1 was in the vehicle. So. Do you have anything you want? Oh, sorry.
Does it appear that two guns were fired in this case then?
Potentially.
Potentially. Sorry to make you backtrack to the previous case, but the Flores homicide, who called 911 in that one?
The juvenile that was in the house.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. No, I just wanted to highlight and thank our team. Talking to one of our sergeants on Saturday, and he goes, "This is the busiest 24 hours of my career," right? And I think we saw in both situations with our partners, Highway Patrol, and the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office, what it takes to respond to incidents of this nature. And then I think for many people probably didn't know we were in the middle of an active homicide investigation that was coming through at that same time. So pushed our people pretty hard this weekend, and again, testament to their training abilities and professionalism to get the results that we have in the short time that we've got here. And again, I know, again, naturally wanted to speak to the public that night and just reiterate, we hear the term active shooter, and we run these drills, the run, hide, fight model throughout society now. It's just the reality that that's kind of how we have to have the mentality because these events have taken place. But again, this incident, not your active shooter that you think of where somebody goes in to target a mall, but still obviously deeply concerning and troublesome when we're firing firearms within a crowded facility like the mall. But I think it's a testament to the training and collaboration between law enforcement and the mall that they immediately went into their lockdown procedures. People began to shelter in place, close their doors, do the safety procedures and protocols that we've worked with throughout the years and have cooperated with them and have a great working relationship with them all. And again, just while we don't want these incidents to happen, we can learn a lot from responses about our preparedness, and we will take every after action on this event to see how we can be even better, what we can learn, and what we can do in the future, because we want to be as prepared as possible. And I think that event just showed the level of our preparedness and how much time, energy, and effort we put in to being ready for these situations. So if you have any other general questions, I'd be happy to take some.
So is it fair to say then that Sioux Falls Police Department officers were rushing to the scene very much prepared for something that could have been much worse?
We've run this drill in our minds and in training countless times. In fact, I think even our in-service this year has a critical incident response with triage and medical intertwining within our response. And so, just, for sake of reference, I'm driving home from my kid's soccer game on Friday, and I see the squad cars going, right? And those of us in law enforcement, when we see a car with its lights and sirens on, we can kind of tell if it's going with a different purpose or a special purpose or if something's really hot. And immediately, just by seeing the cars go in that direction, I knew something had taken place that was quite substantial, right? So, again, we know what the story is, we know what the response is. I think is evidenced by our response to this event. We're trained and understand the mission and the assignment when something like this goes out. Any other questions? I'd be foolish not to take this opportunity to talk about, again, we are looking at this mall incident in particular. Homicides are tragedies. We understand the domestic relationship of that one, and that there's, things that we can look at and just we can get deep into that topic on a different level. But the mall shooting itself, we have young adults from our community, and I will throw the term gang around. It's an affiliation of youth who really have decided that this is what they're going to emulate, what they see on TV or hear in music, or the things that are kind of there, and this is how they're going to go. But this goes way back to what the mayor and I in particular have said quite a bit about the need for mentorship within our community. Can I say that mentorship would maybe interrupt this? No, I can't, right? But I think it can highlight that we have some youth within our community that are troubled, and yet at this time, while we talk about what we can do as a community, our core schools in particular are seeing a decrease in mentorship involvement. I've got tons of people reaching out to me about the mall event, the shooting, a lot of curiosity, a lot of people who just want to know what's going on. I wish we had the same level of curiosity and interest as far as how we can be involved in young people's lives and maybe stop some of this before it gets to this point. Because I will tell you that this is not the first rodeo for those involved in that event at the mall. Law enforcement has intervened numerous times with the parties involved there to no effect, right? We get to this point and this is where we're at. There are no strangers to us. Yet again, I reiterate, there are chances to make interventions, and it often comes in the lives of investing in grade schoolers and middle schoolers before we get to this point where this is the outcome. Again, not a silver bullet, but we better do something. We better get engaged in that and try to do something within that field. And I would encourage you to take this event and take this incident, which probably has thousands of views and numerous things and comments on social media, and find a sense of action within that about some things you can do within your community to intervene. We'll do our part. But again, by the time we're doing our part, there's damage done and sometimes lives lost. And then we're just cleaning up a mess, right? Let's try to keep some of that from happening by being involved early and often and serving within your community and find a way to be involved and step up for our kids. So, thanks.
I really don't have anything more. There's an arson on there that was guy that burned some clothes, no real damage done to that. A few robberies, all those are reports, no serious injuries from those, no arrests. Sex offenses are all reports. A couple of weapons violations, one of them involves a juvenile and the other was somebody that had a bullet in their pocket, not supposed to have it. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me. Okay, thanks.
What was that second officer's name?
The second one?
Yeah.